Hi, good morning, Dr. Chiliza.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. So I'm going to make you the co-host. So I just
Okay,
want to make sure you're able to share your screen, okay?
sure.
Test it out right now before everyone logs in. Can you see if you're able to share your screen?
All right, let me try.
Okay. Okay. I just
Can you
want to
see
make sure
that?
it's I can see it, but make sure it's in presenter mode though.
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, thank you.
Does
Yeah,
it
you can
look all
take it
right?
off. Yes, you can take it off now.
Hey, Maria.
Hello, good afternoon.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good, 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 good.
Sharifa, I have since this is the first lecture in a series, I have a couple slides to start out. Am I able to share screen with those?
Um, Let me see if I'm able to pull it off. You can try to share your screen.
All right, does that work okay? Let me center mode.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thanks, Sharifa.
All right, you're welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're just letting a few less people join in. And I'm just going to share some slides to get us started. I'm excited to introduce a new series within the Global Grand Rounds, presented by the Global and Local Center for Mental Health Disparities. This series is entitled the Global Mind Local Insights Mental Health Research Scholar Series, and is a collaboration in presenting work and featuring our collaborators in global mental health from around the world. This series will consist of 5 lectures throughout May and June, with our first being today here with Prof. Chiliza. We will additionally have next week, in going forward, will be in-person speakers. So we encourage everyone to come join in person. And we'll be sharing this information out through the department. So keep an eye out for an email, including talks and locations. This series is sponsored through the Peter H. Knapp Fund, with a focus on bringing lectures devoted to research in the field of psychiatry to Boston University School of Medicine Department of Psychiatry. Dr. Knapp was a dedicated professor of psychiatry at the Boston University School of Medicine, now Chobani and Advizian School of Medicine, for 49 years. He was additionally a researcher in the field of psychosomatic medicine before his passing in 1992. And he was a emeritus professor before his passing. He was the former director of the Psychosomatic Medicine Service, a member and training analyst at the Boston Psychiatric Institute, and past president of the American Psychosomatic Society, as well as an author of more than 70 papers and 4 books. So we're thankful to the family of Dr. Peter Knapp in providing support for this really fantastic lecture series that we have coming forward. Today, as I mentioned, our honored speaker is joining us virtually, but will be here with us in person next week to meet with local, our Boston researchers, and with the goal of building further collaborations through this Grand Round series. Today, Prof. Bonga Chiliza, who is joining us, he is an associate professor, chief specialist, and head of the Department of Psychiatry at the University of KwaZulu-Natal in Durban, South Africa. He's the deputy editor of the South African Journal of Psychiatry and one of the founding directors of the Africa Global Mental Health Institute, which is co-led with our Global and Local Center here at Boston Medical Center and BU. He is completed his medical degree in psychiatry specialization at the University of KwaZulu-Natal and his PhD at Stellenbosch University. His research interests include first episode psychosis, schizophrenia, psychepidemiology, and health services research and medical education. Prof. Chiliza has received several awards from South African institutions and research grants from international funding agencies. He has published more than 120 peer-reviewed articles and book chapters, and also led a number of non-for-profit boards, including the South African YMCA, South African Society of Psychiatrists. He's additionally an adjunct faculty member at the BU Chobani and Advizian School of Medicine. Please welcome Prof. Chiliza as our speaker today.
Thank you very much, Maria, and good afternoon, colleagues. Greetings from Durban, a warm Durban. I'm going to share my slides. I hope they'll be visible in a second. No, let's try that again. I don't know what's going on now. Can you let me know what you're seeing that side, Maria or Sharifa?
There's nothing yet. It's just so that you started sharing, but there's nothing on your screen.
Okay, let me stop sharing and try again. Okay.
There
All
you go.
right.
You can put it into presenter mode, please.
Sure. All right, can you see that?
We can see
Sharifa?
it.
We
We can see
Okay.
it, but it's not in presenter mode. It's you can see your notes on the side.
Okay,
Could
I
you
think it's
click the
to,
display settings above and
yeah,
then,
it's, let me try the, excuse me one second, it's the two screen thing.
There we go.
Okay, let's try that again. Thank you. So good afternoon and good evening to the colleagues in South Africa. I'll be presenting about our work, which was adapting an intervention that we learned from the United States, from Boston and other cities in the United States. And before I start, maybe I just wanted to say that most of this work that I'll be speaking to you about this afternoon is not yet published. And so we would really appreciate it if you can give us some positive constructive criticism or praise or anything like that. That will be very useful so that we can know how to take it forward as we publish the work. So I'll briefly talk about a little bit of the context about this country and about the mental health care system of the people of this country. I'll talk a little bit about the actual intervention itself, very briefly. I'll also speak a lot about the cultural adaptation of Breathe. And hopefully we might see a short trailer of the video that we've done here if it works. And then some takeaways and looking forward to the next steps. So I've met Dave Henderson, who's the chair of the Department of Psychiatry at Boston. I think many moons ago, and he kept saying that I must come to Boston and he can make it happen. And eventually in 2017, I came to Boston. I spent about a week there and I had a wonderful time organized by Dave, Christina Boba, and other colleagues. And I had a really, really important time. And I think that it underpins for me the reasons why it's so important for us to meet and get together rather than only on Zoom. You get to meet amazing people if you actually go there and spend time with someone. You get to understand how they work and they get to understand a little bit more about how you work. This is my country. I come from South Africa. Those who've been here know that it's a beautiful, beautiful part of the world. We're also famous for, I guess, the institutionalization of racism. So we had a government that was had a policy called apartheid, and they spent a huge amount of energy and resources trying to suppress people of color, and obviously not successfully. And we had a peaceful transition to a democratic South Africa in 1994. And perhaps because there was no bloodshed, they needed to also spend a bit more time trying to talk about what happened during apartheid. And so a Truth and Reconciliation Commission was coined or started. I think it was chaired by the Archbishop Desmond Tutu, and he and other colleagues listened to a number of stories, many, many stories, horrible stories about what happened during apartheid. And one of the phrases that came out of that was that he hopes that a rainbow nation will be birthed. The rainbow nation, as you know, obviously, it suggests that we can all live together in harmony as different colors. But 30 years on, the question about whether the center can hold is still very, very poignant and particularly important at the moment. This is my family. I live in Durban with 2 Zulu Jepericans. My wife is Jessie Chiliza. She's an American who is also a alumni of Boston University. She got a DRPH at the School of Public Health in Boston University. And Kanye, 2 daughters, Kanye Lily and Sakina Mimi. Kanye is a Zulu word for light, and Sakina means peace. And this is probably the reason why I need to stay young and fit, because these children like to jump on me, even if I'm standing at the around the breakfast table on a Sunday. I think they should be going to bed around about now, so I don't know if they're still here on the call, but that was their 2 seconds worth of fame. There they are. Thank you very much. So the reason why I said that this can the center hold is because of this. I think we are definitely one of the most unequal societies in the world. We have a quadruple burden of disease, largely around HIV, but also, interpersonal injuries and motor car accidents, etc. Infectious diseases are a huge part of the burden still. So many 30 years since the fall of apartheid. So we are still battling with all these things, and this is why I think people say that perhaps the center cannot hold. In terms of mental health burden or mental health problems in this country, as you know, mental health problems actually underlie a lot of these things. They underlie HIV, a lot of the infectious diseases, and of course, the interpersonal violence, etc., can be linked to substance misuse and definitely mental health problems. We haven't had a wonderful prevalence study for a while, but we did have the SASH study that was done a number of years ago, and they found that the prevalence of common mental disorders was about 16.5%. We are pretty sure that it is increasing post-COVID. All the private practice psychiatrists are all saying that they're seeing a lot more people than they used to in the past. We think that there's a huge amount of untreated people with untreated illness. Some people estimate that it's probably more than 90%. I think clearly that the problems are huge, and therefore the government is not likely to be the only player that will be able to solve the problems. And we really do need civil society engagements to try and help solve some of the issues that need to be solved in this country. in terms of how our healthcare system is arranged in the country, it's a two-tier system. There's a public healthcare system which serves 85% of the population, and there's a private healthcare system, arguably some of the best healthcare in the world. The standards are really, really amazing, but it only serves about 15% of the population, and it actually is serviced by 60% of the medical doctors in our country. We spent less than 10% of our GDP on health, and I think we spent about approximately 5% of our healthcare budget on mental health care. And unfortunately, at the moment, the majority of that, the far majority of that is really in specialized, in psychiatric hospitals. So this is the specialized psychiatric hospitals, the usual, I think, based on the asylum models, regional hospitals. This is provincial tertiary hospitals, the amount of money that is spent, as you can see. District hospitals are also hospitals, national central hospitals. So all of this is all really hospitals, and primary health care, where I think an increased percentage of expenditure should be at, is only about 8% at the moment. This was a study that was done and led by Crickland's people at UCT, and I think it's pretty accurate of the current status quo. So, breathe. I think that I was really astounded, I must say, when I met a young person called Dr. Lauren Ng in Boston, when I went there, who said that she has heard of this intervention that within 3 sessions can get people better who have psychosis and comorbid PTSD. I obviously did not believe her, and I had to go and look and read up about it myself. And and it is there. It was developed in the United States, and it really essentially is 2 things. It's psychoeducation about trauma and PTSD, and it's a breathing retraining exercises that are done during the breathe intervention. The psychoeducation, they use videos as aids, and there's a manual that kind of guides the therapist, and they use these videos in an interactive way in these sessions, and the videos are watched together, the therapist and the participant, or sorry, the therapist and the patient, and the videos are of previous people that have recovered from trauma. So in 2017, as I said, I met Lauren Ng, and who's told us about her work that she's working on, or she was working on at the time in Ethiopia on this intervention, which I thought was really, really amazing. I came back to Durban, and I thought we should try and find this. And I found 2 young people that are early career psychiatrists, early career researchers who are interested in doing some work with us. And Dr. Vuyoka Zinhlansana in the bottom right, and Dr. Kinilwe Molebatsi from Botswana on the next to her. So we also got funding for them to go to Boston. They went to Boston to learn about how breathe works and meet Lauren and other colleagues and come back and do the work. And the work that I'll be presenting tonight is largely their work. So Lauren told us, has been telling us about the work that they did in Ethiopia. It's basically, it was a mixed method study that they tried to adapt breathe for people with SMI in Ethiopia. And they, I think, went straight to the primary healthcare settings. And unfortunately, that work has been interrupted by war in the region that they were doing some of that work. And so she's not able to complete the entire process, but she's done quite a lot of work already. And I'm sure she'll be happy to share some of that in the near future. So our two brilliant young people from Botswana and South Africa went and met a colleague of yours in Boston, Mark Musa, who was one of the instrumental founders of Breathe. They got trained by him and other colleagues, and they came back to see if this is actually doable to do this work here in South Africa and in Botswana. So what we've been trying to do is adapt this intervention, and we're trying to do it pretty concurrently here or simultaneously or in parallel here and in Botswana. We think that it is probably doable. There's some slight differences in the way that the two studies have been going, but and also different paces because of different life experiences. But largely, they've both been doing these three major things. So the first one is we conducted a qualitative research study to understand the trauma experiences of people with SMI and PTSD. We then developed a version of Breathe, and then we tested it, or just tested it in Durban, and I think we are about to test it in Botswana. So the Botswana people, the Tswanas, not that many. I'm told that there are more cattle in Botswana than people in that country. It's slightly northwest of South Africa. They've got about 2.6, under 3 million people. They speak Setswana and English. Their currency is much stronger than South Africa's. They are doing relatively well in terms of the economy. They have about 8 psychiatrists at the moment, and hopefully they'll have a few more. I was part of helping them establish a training of psychiatrists in Botswana, and we are looking forward to celebrating and eating pounded meat. Their specialty is pounded goat meat, which is called seswa. It's absolutely delicious. Would definitely encourage people to go there. And then here in Durban, we have in KwaZulu-Natal in the region, we have about under 12 million people, which is about 20% of the South African population. Majority of our people here in Durban are Black Africans, and we have 7% of our people as Indians, and this is a legacy of indentured slaves that were brought in from India to come and work in the sugar canes in the 1960s, I think, or no, probably a little bit earlier than that. And they have stayed and made families and made life. And I think at some stage, Durban used to be the second most populous city of people with number of Indian people in Durban. I think we've now just been surpassed in that by Birmingham in the United Kingdom. So we have a large number of people of Indian descent. We have people of European descent, and then we have mixed race people. This is apartheid classification of the race. The majority of our people in Durban speak isiZulu, and English is a second language. And we have a very high rate of unemployment, particularly amongst young people in this country. And of course, huge amounts of inequality. So how did we do this? We followed a process, formative method for adapting psychotherapy process, where we gathered some information about what is useful, for example, what would be appropriate and work for us in this country, in our setting. We collaborated with stakeholders. We got that information. We tried to integrate it and reviewed and revised the adapted intervention, tested the adapted intervention, and are currently finalizing the intervention. So it's 5 phases. It appears very complicated, and there are reasons why it is quite complex to do these things. I'm not going to go through all of the 5 phases because of time, but I just wanted to say that this is just a taste of some of the things that we are finding. And so it might appear that as if I'm skipping certain processes or steps, but please bear with me. I'm just trying to give you a highlight of what we've been finding. So what we found in South Africa, in Durban, was that there's a huge amount of trauma that is experienced by people with psychosis. We focused in early psychosis in Durban, and a lot of it was around the fact that people grow up, without their parents. So a lot of financial hardships, a lot of child abuse and neglect. And there was also bullying at schools, and the actual psychotic experience with hallucinations and delusions was also a source of trauma for many people. In Botswana, we found that similarly, I think, because of the number of households that don't have parents, that there was a lot of issues around things that were related, I guess, to upbringing, unexpected deaths of loved one because of HIV, perhaps sexual violence, physical assault, also really as a result of I would say the unstable homes that they have. And then there's a number of other experiences that they've experienced, for example, that are not necessarily consistent with the DSM-5. So, for example, things around spiritual and traditional healer experiences, which I'll go into a little bit more detail on, toxic work environments, conflictual relationships, and so on and so forth. So we think that the experiences of trauma that people had is probably similar to that of the general population experiences. And what I think was also interesting for us was that when Vuyokazi was trying to find people with trauma at a psychiatry outpatient department, almost everyone that she spoke to said that they've never had trauma. So when she then went on to explain what trauma is, she suddenly people said, oh yeah, yes, that did happen. Yes, I actually was beaten up as a child. Yes, my mother passed away at the age of 7. And then I've been moved from one aunt to another aunt and an uncle. And yes, I did have those hardships, but I thought that's just normal and that's part of life. And so that's why I said, no, I did not have trauma when you asked me about the trauma. So there's a lot of traumatic experiences that our people have had. There's also this thing that we keep finding out, which I think is important to kind of explain a little bit. A lot of people in South Africa, in Durban, the Zulu, particularly the Zulu people, they have to do certain rituals as they grow up. They believe, for example, that a child is announced to ancestors, and therefore certain things need to be done when the child is born, depending on where you live and what you believe, but it usually varies. And some of it is about kind of slaughtering animals. Some of it is about doing certain prayers and certain rituals. And so a lot of people that were kind of raised by single moms away from the home of the father, often when they turn 18 or 19 and becoming men, suddenly say, my life is not going well at the moment because certain things were not done to me. And some of those people then have really terrible nightmares and dreams. Sometimes they have experiences that are very similar to what we might call post-traumatic stress disorders. And so a lot of the people, that's one of the things that really did come out quite strongly when we were doing some of the work here, and similarly in Botswana. So we then spoke to different stakeholders and to try and engage with them, as I said, that's part of the work of cultural adaptation. And we, in Durban, we spoke with the first episode psychosis research team, showed them the work. Vuyokazi did that and showed us the video of what they were trying to do. I think we watched the one from Boston and then we watched the one from South Africa. We had a research advisory board made up of a few people, and one of the people was on that was a young lady who had first episode psychosis and had recovered from it. She was a university student at the time, and she has now been part of our research team at some stage, and she is doing exceptionally well, and she was really instrumental in us trying to work out whether this could actually work for people with psychosis in our city. So we then took all of this and we developed Breathe. We had to get the manual done for us here in Durban as well, and we reviewed it, edited it, and then eventually we had to translate it into isiZulu. Vuyokazi got some script writers to try and write a script for the actors, and realized that actually a lot of that was inappropriate, and so she needed to rewrite a whole lot of scripts. And eventually we did make a video, a number of videos using different actors, and we then piloted those videos. Some of the difficulties that we've done along the way, as I said, the cultural stuff is one part of it, but obviously you also need to be able to keep the core components of Breathe very much to like what they're supposed to have been from the United States. And so there's always this push and pull about making sure that it's fit for purpose, but also not straying away from the original sort of Breathe ingredients, if you may. So we had focus group discussions. Vuyokazi spent quite a lot of time trying to find people in South Africa, in Durban, that are support groups, community-based organizations, and eventually we did find one in Westville, which is a suburb of Durban. She also got the first episode psychosis research team again to discuss, watch the videos and discuss them. And we had a first draft of the intervention, which was created for the pilot, and we did the pilot. So the pilot was a single case experimental design pilot, and with adapted multiple baseline design. And the main aim of the pilot was really about feasibility and acceptability of the intervention. And we obviously took a sneak peek at the promise of efficacy. And the pilot was done here in Durban, and we had 4 people who had had a first episode of psychosis and who screened positive for PTSD at 3 months post-enrollment. The PCL is the negative cognitions. Sorry, I think I'm mixing them up. I think the PCTI is the negative cognitions one, and the PCL is looking at post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms. And this is 4 people, 4 individuals at different time points. So if you look at the top left, for example, you can see that the person's score pretty much stayed similar. Then this was when the intervention was started, of the breathe intervention. Then it, I don't know when it goes, I don't know. And then it also appears to have dropped a few months after that intervention, 19 weeks. Individual 2, there's also was a dramatic decrease, I think. And then it seems to have come back again. Individual 3, there's something, it doesn't really kind of stay the same. Individual 4, there was, it looks like actually that one got a bit of an increase in PCL and kind of stayed the same. The negative cognition scale, as you can see, so it's a little bit all over the place. I think this person kind of stayed the same. So this was a pilot study. So we are not expecting dramatic things. We were just very excited that we could actually do this work. The Zulu trauma questionnaire, which is the one that kind of focuses on those cultural experiences that I spoke about, we actually felt there was really nothing here, nothing. It looked a little bit, this one a little bit better, flat. And so we thought that perhaps the pilot breathe intervention in Durban was really not addressing some of these culture related PTSD symptoms. So the 4 participants had a positive experience with intervention. Participants showed, the ones that showed the most improvement were those that had severe PTSD symptoms. The intervention did not show improvement of the cultural symptoms associated with PTSD. So we thought, oops, there was some blind spot there that we needed to kind of maybe fix. So we went back to discussing it as a team, and we then sought out to find traditional and faith healers, and we asked them if they could assist us and what kind of things can they do to make it such that this breathe intervention takes care of all the different trauma-related symptoms, including those that are spiritual or traditional nature. One of the difficulties with some of the interventions that are prescribed by healers in our country is that they're quite costly. So they require, someone to slaughter an animal. You need guidance about how to do those things. So the consultation fee itself with the healers is not that significant, but it's usually what is they prescribe for you to do is usually quite costly. So we asked them to try and help us figure out ways and means of doing these interventions, perhaps prior to, whilst they're still kind of looking for money to do the larger, more significant interventions. And we found that there are actually things that they could do, which are probably, you would probably say that they are very much about, going to so they say things like going to the river, breathing at the river, praying at the river. Some of them talk about lighting candles in a quiet room and praying. So things that I think spiritual perhaps apparently are able to help with tempering some of these trauma symptoms. So we are biomedical trained physicians. We felt that in order to have a truly accessible intervention, we needed to work with traditional healers. But we also feel that perhaps we might need to work with other mental health care providers, and I'll get to that in just a second. So I'm not going to play the trailer because I am scared of what will happen with technology. So I'm going to skip that. What are we doing next? So what we're going to be doing next is trying to put together a study that will be using implementation science that will be based basically in our community health centers in Durban. And we'll be using what we call B-Psych counselors. So these are counselors that have got a 4-year degree, a Bachelor of Psychology degree. So they're not trained to be clinical psychologists because that requires a lot more years. They're not social workers either because that requires a lot more years. So these are B-Psych counselors. They are working for the government. They're working in this community health centers in Durban and across the province and in other provinces in the country. And we are hoping that they will agree. And we've started talking to them and they are quite excited about this. And we are hoping that they'll agree that we can train them and we can monitor them and support them and then see if they can use Breathe as a potential they can use Breathe in the kind of clients that they get to see in Durban. So I think a takeaway message from this is that it's been a journey. It's been such a journey, and I really thought Vuyokazi at stages, at times she's gonna give up, and she has not given up. I know Kinilwe also has not given up in Botswana. It really becomes onerous on students, on the leaders that are leading these studies, but it's really, really important to do it correctly. I do think, though, that one has to be a bit more pragmatic than idealistic when you think about these things. But I think it is possible to do it, and obviously you need a huge team. You also need funding, and so this work has been funded by a number of different people, including our university, the South African Medical Research Council, the Schizophrenia International Research Society, and the overall FEP study in Durban was funded by the National Research Foundation as well as the Society for Biological Psychiatry Research Fund. So because I have you, I don't know if we still have your attention, but we are looking forward to having a wonderful conference in Nairobi in November. And hopefully this kind of work will be discussed and people will be able to come to join us. We'll be talking about closing the gap, innovations in mental health. And it's a collaboration between UKZN and Boston University. And it's happening a couple of days before the Black Psychiatrists of America meeting, Transcultural Society, the Transcultural Conference, also in the same city in Kenya. I'm looking forward to coming to Boston. I can't wait to come to Boston, and I'm hoping that I will have great new experiences with new colleagues and hopefully learn from them and see if we can do something similar going forward. So Maria, before I say thank you, I think I usually like to end by saying that a South African child, it is definitely possible for a South African child to make it. On the right-hand side is the cover of Time magazine, and the artist is from Limpopo province, which is in the northern part of our country. And on the left-hand side is a mural in Manhattan, somewhere in New York City, and it's by a lady who's a gogo, a grandmother, Esther Mahlangu. She's an artist, and she does amazing Ndebele art across the country, and has been honored many times across the world, and she has also made it big in this world. So thank you very much for listening. Apologies for the initial difficulties. This is Dr. Ntlansana. She is a colleague, a friend, and also a runner. And she recently ran 21 kilometers, a half marathon in Florence. And she used one in Durban as a little test case. And I happened to be in the same race as her. And she didn't beat me too much. She made sure that I also kind of feature somewhere when she won, when she did really well in that marathon. So thank you very much, and hopefully there is some time for interaction. Thanks, Maria.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Prof. Chiliza. That was really impressive work. We're so appreciative of you sharing with us. So we can open it up for Q&A if anyone wants to turn on their video and microphone if they'd like to ask a question, or if you prefer to put it into the chat, we can monitor that.
Bonga, thank you. This was an awesome presentation, and it's pretty cool because I actually see Lauren Ng here as well, and you know, like it really shows the strength of collaborations, coming together, sharing ideas, and so on. And so, I'm reminded of Lauren's work in Ethiopia, using Breathe and stuff, and so anyway, we really look forward to having you here in Boston and to discuss not only this study but others. I think there's lots of opportunities for future collaborations. And Lauren, I would love for you to say, I'd like to say hi to you, but also if you could comment on both Bonga's work as well as yours in Ethiopia, that'd be fantastic.
Okay, sure. Hi, Dave. Hi, everyone. It's so good to see people. I'm seeing names, I'm seeing faces. You know, I miss you all. Luckily, I still am in touch with some of you all. Would love to be in touch with more, but I just got the invite like when it had already started. So I missed, unfortunately, the first half Bonga, but I will just say that Bonga and Yukazi and I have been in touch and been working for the last several months and thinking about next steps for this project, which is very exciting. And in Ethiopia, we have taken the Breathe intervention, adapted it to Ethiopia. It's been implemented in 4 primary care settings. The other 4 were randomized to waitlist control. And we got initial good feasibility results and results from patients and providers. Went through multiple iterations of adaptation in that process. Unfortunately, I'm sure as many of you know, there's an ongoing war right now in Ethiopia. And so that has impacted so much of the country, including the area we're working. So we're unable to continue right now, unfortunately, despite the really high need for this treatment. Obviously, it's settings, that are most impacted. It's hardest to get it in. So that's kind of where we are with Ethiopia right now. And, maybe in the future, we'll be able to keep going on that project, but I'm so excited to see this work, taking off in other places, on all the work that Bonga and Yukazi and Neelway have been working on. So I'm just happy to be able to support it in any way I can.
Thanks, Lauren.
Hi, my name is Vipasha. I'm one of the social workers at the Cancer Center. I was just curious how you collaborated with the local healers. and what was the process and how that helped? I'm sure it changed everything. So I just wanted to, if you could throw some more light on that.
Sure. Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks, Pasha. I think one of the things that struck me when I moved back to Durban was that in Durban, people are much more open about the fact that they see medical doctors and social workers and psychologists, and also go to healers. And in fact, there's a number of my colleagues who are residents in this department of mine who have said to me that they're also been called to become a healer. Some of them have openly kind of spoken about it, some of them not so much. We have psychiatrists in this province who are also healers. We have physicians who are also healers, etc. So there's a much more openness about kind of from the physician side, about going to healers. When I was growing up in Durban, it was kind of looked upon as if it's for rural people, for poor people, and now it's becoming a lot more openly spoken about, which is fantastic. We have a wonderful collaborator who is Dr. Vivi Mkhize, who's got a PhD in philosophy from a university in the United States of America. Fantastic guy. He writes really, really well. He writes beautifully in isiZulu, and he has a radio show, and he's amazing. So he's been our key sort of collaborator when it comes to research and working together. And we are looking forward to doing more work. Proper, biopsychospiritual ward rounds that we can do together with them. And so the healers that Vuyokazi went to see, though, was not him. It was other healers that she also found. And the one that we initially thought she would go see was not happy to be seen by Vuyokazi for whatever reason, but she did see them. And they all said that the healers that she's spoken to said, would love to work with you, although there are some hesitations because of the past interactions between researchers in biomedical space and healers. I think it's all about the previous people's approaches, which have been not in a proper way, where it is around the table, with non-respectful. And they have been very helpful, because I was really scratching my head to say, what is it that they could do that is affordable? And they said, yeah, no, we can definitely do stuff that is affordable. They talked to us about prayers, using a candle. They talked to us about, going to a quiet river and doing some meditation or prayers, etc. And they spoke to us a lot, a great deal about those kind of interventions that one can do. And what was quite interesting was that some of it obviously sounds to me like can be done, prior to getting to us, and some of it can be done alongside our biomedical care. And obviously a lot of it is, as you know, the therapeutic process is such that, if the person truly believes in this is going to help them, then it's likely to work. So I think there's a huge amount of work that's being done, and that needs to be done around collaboration with healers in trauma, in psychosis, in depression, anxiety. The reason why we also need to do this work is because actually our people, our clients that come to see us are actually doing it. They're doing it. They're not waiting for us to give them permission to do it. They're doing it. So we need to just collaborate with them in research so we can find easier, safer ways of working together. So I think I'll stop there. I could speak for a whole hour about that as well, but I think I'll stop there. Thanks, Pasha.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Any last questions before we end? Like, we have a quick question in the chat. Were the healers exposed to the breathe content?
Yeah, so the healers that we spoke to, yeah, they did. And they watched a little video on you guys' phone to see what it's about, and really thought this is something that is that they could embrace. They could, that could help them as well in their journey with their clients. So they are willing and really looking forward to us coming back to them and saying, how can we work with them even more around this kind of work.
Great. Thank you so much, Prof. Chiliza, for this really fantastic presentation, impressive work. We're really looking forward to seeing you next week. If there's anyone here who would also is interested in meeting with Prof. Chiliza next week, we can see if we can find some time if you'd like to discuss potential collaborations for the future, because that's really what we want to generate from this Global Grand Rounds series that we're doing. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Maria. Thank you very much, colleagues. Thank you.
Bonga. Great work.
See you next week.